Okay,
We all.
we're live. Yes. Hopefully everyone can actually hear me this time. Obviously that would happen again, so very sorry for the last 4 minutes of ramble. But we're here. Welcome to the EC Method podcast / live. That is very professional, always works, and yeah, once we get there, it's good content.
That's where we'll start the podcast. Welcome to the podcast / live. We're here.
Yes.
We're going.
We're here.
It's actually a good analogy for everybody who's having some slip ups early doors with tracking, which is inevitable. You can't learn how to track and not slip up en route. It's not going to happen. And it's like us with this. We're just going to keep messing it up till we know what we're doing, and we're good to go.
Okay, everyone says yes, we're good. Everyone can hear. Awesome. So, are we going to do some questions first and then move on to diet hacks?
Yeah, we started just now. None of you could hear us, so it's completely pointless. But we did start just now with diet hacks, but we will do that at the end because I know a lot of you have a sweet tooth. A lot of you are worried about getting hungry or not feeling full. And so we have some really good diet hacks which are going to help with both of those things. But let's start with some questions just so Emma and I don't get super bored of the same conversation we just had for 5 minutes.
Okay, have you got questions?
I do. Okay, so this one is mainly about NEAT and additional activity. So as everybody knows who's listening, we want you trying to get your steps in. We want you trying to stay active. In the last podcast, in the last live, Emma talked about really good ways to do that if you kind of have to be sat down all day at a desk, like trying to hit 100 squats throughout the day, or just getting up and going upstairs, doing something, making a cup of tea. Great tips. But yes, in an ideal world, we want your exercise activity box ticked and we want your NEAT, your non-exercise activity, ticked. So Sarah Miller says, other people seem to be doing additional activities over and above the workouts and the 10,000 steps that we recommend. I have a full-time job and 2 kids, and I like to preserve a bit of downtime. Oh, and a decent night's sleep. I don't think I can regularly squeeze in much more. Will I see results just following the plan? Okay, so the beauty of having children is that your NEAT is probably very high as it is, especially if they're young. You're probably getting up, moving around, taking care of them, doing all that. I think actually, funnily enough, for somebody like you, downtime is preferable to doing extra activity. It means you're going to have more energy for your workouts, and it means that you're going to find this less of a struggle. So I think prioritizing downtime is really great for you. 10,000 steps is enough. Again, like even if you're just steps is great because you're standing up and you're moving, both of which are fantastic. But even if you're just like sat down moving, like that's still neat, that still counts too. So I would say don't worry about
like your hand movements count towards NEAT. We're both quite handy, like this is one thing and this is the other thing. Yeah.
I know. I get it from my dad. I like gesticulate all the time. It's so awful. But no, it's good. It's actually good and it's genetic and it is neat. I mean, it's not as good as standing up and then walking, but it still counts. So yes, I would say prioritize downtime. You don't need to do more. Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think like more isn't always better. And there's a certain point where, as Chloe said, like maybe rest for you is a better option. I'd also say like the group is amazing. So many positives about group coaching. There's loads of people going through the same thing. We're all supporting each other. There's loads of ideas flying around in there. But comparison is the thief of joy. So if you log on and think like, oh, great, I've hit my 10,000 steps, then you see someone who's like, oh, look at me, hit 20,000 before breakfast, just went for a 10K run. Like you kind of feel like you're not doing as well. But you don't know their position, what their goals are, what your goals are. So try not to compare yourself. Also know that you can do like quite little and still get very good results if you know where to focus your energy. And that's what we're showing you. So that's why we've set you these targets, like 3 times a week minimum. You will get results from doing workouts 3 times a week, getting your 10,000 steps in minimum. You'll get amazing results just from doing those 2 things and sticking to your calories. What people do over and above that might get them slightly more results, but you've got to think of it like the law of diminishing returns. So when you first start doing something, so from going to no workouts a week to 3, huge benefit. From going from like your usual 3,000 steps a day to 10,000 steps, massive difference. When you're looking at going from 10,000 to 15,000, kind of smaller, like the benefit. When you're looking at going from doing 3 workouts a week to 6, you're still getting more benefit, but it's not to the same extent. So don't worry too much about it. And you've obviously got loads of other amazing things in your life going on. And that's kind of what we want to teach you, is that fitness doesn't have to take over your life. It can be a brilliant part of it, but you can still, like, we want to make you better for every aspect of your life. Not like, because you can go too far of just, my whole life is just trying to hit all these goals. So yeah, you will be fine just hitting those things consistently. You'll get brilliant results.
I agree. Okay, Deborah Aston says, what is a decent body composition and BMI goal to be working towards, and how best to use and consume creatine? Emma, do you want to take this one?
Okay, so BMI, you want to be in a healthy range, but that's a huge range, like a quite a big range of weight. Anywhere in there that you feel good is absolutely fine. And I would say that even things like the body composition that one person feels good at might not be the body composition that someone else feels good at.
Yeah.
Your body composition throughout the year will change. Like Chloe and I stay in like a healthy BMI range, but we'll fluctuate throughout the year. Like, oh, I might be going on holiday, I want to lose a little bit of fat. Oh, do you know what? Lockdown happened and I overate a little bit, I put on a little bit of fat. But you're still within this healthy range. So that will fluctuate depending on the circumstances in your life, as well as like where you feel best in terms of where you perform best and feel your best and are most confident and all these things. So there's not a specific goal that you need to aim for. It's also quite individual. Like when a client's like, oh, what should my goal be? That needs to come from you, really. Like, what is your goal? Like, and we can whittle that down. So if you're like, oh, do you know what? I want to feel like, I want to feel a certain way. Okay, so what things are going to make you feel that way? Where are you going to sit that in terms of your body composition that is going to give you the most chance of reaching those goals? So I wouldn't say it's a good idea to have a goal of a certain body composition. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think the BMI, sorry, is a tricky one to go by. I know that when I was fit, healthy, active as a teenager, I was technically anorexic, and I think James is technically obese because of his muscle mass. I think it's a tricky one to go on. And I also think that what is healthy, exactly to reiterate Emma's first point, is completely subjective to the individual. It depends on so many things. It's a really hard question to answer, but I would say get to a place where you feel comfortable and confident in your own skin, and fit and healthy and active, like able to run up the stairs if you need to, able to do a killer workout for half an hour, and able to enjoy your life and live your life. And when you get to those points where you're fit and you're active and you have a good relationship with food and you eat healthy but you don't really restrict yourself, that for everyone will look different, but that is a really great thing to aim for. I think it's too hard a question to answer, if I'm going to be totally honest. Creatine, when's a good time to take it? Any time in the day is fine. 5 milligrams a day. I tend to take it with all the rest of my supplements, usually after breakfast, and that's usually before I train, but it's completely up to you. It doesn't really matter. You just really want to saturate that the muscle with the creatine. Emma, what do you think on the creatine thing?
Nothing to add there. I think people used to say you had to take it with carbohydrates because they thought that was how it got into the muscle, but I think that's been dispelled. So really just like take it whenever you want. And I would do what Chloe does and take it with the rest of your supplements, because you'll end up just forgetting if you don't. So either add it into a protein shake or just like take it with whatever else you're taking.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, Emma, what are your thoughts on using a foam roller following a workout or when you feel the DOMS kicking in? If you do think it's worthwhile, any resources you can recommend on how to foam roll effectively? Emma?
Do you know what? I'm not a huge fan of foam rolling. I think it's a really big placebo effect. I think, I don't know. I'm not sure that like there's that much of an effect for me. I think that because it's painful, people think it's doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't foam roll. James does it like every day. James has got some mobility issues from years and years and years of rugby, and now fight training. representing. So he foam rolls and does mobility like every day. Yeah, I agree with Emma. I think just stretching, doing dynamic stretches before you work out is going to be great. And then I think things like keeping your hydration in check, making sure you're getting enough protein in your diet, making sure you're getting enough sleep, making sure you have at least one, if not two rest days throughout the week, making sure that you potentially get your magnesium in, and also creatine is going to be helpful for this. I think all of these things are going to be a lot better when it comes to you and your DOMs and feeling recovered than a foam roller. But we've said this before in multiple podcasts. If you want a good resource in terms of mobility, stretching, foam rollers, and everything else you can imagine, there's a book called The Supple Leopard. I actually think there's 2 or 3 of them now. So look at The Supple Leopard, and they will take you with photograph illustrations from start to finish on how to stretch out your body and increase your mobility.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think some people get a huge amount out of foam rolling. I think my gripe with it is when you see people going into the gym and you spend like 30 minutes foam rolling and warming up, and then like 20 minutes on your workout and go home. So yeah, I don't know, not for me.
No, I'm with you on that. I'm sure James would say that it's really helped him though. So I don't want to, it's up to you really. Okay.
Yeah, try it and see if it helps.
I know that we shouldn't be adjusting our calories to our activity, but does this change if we extend our cardio? If I go for a long run, say 1.5 hours plus, at the weekend, should I be increasing my calories and macros? I guess carbs to fuel or protein to recover slightly. This is a really nuanced question. I personally want to put you guys on, as we've talked about, the 16 to 1800 calorie start point of a deficit. 1800 tends to be the higher end of a calorie deficit for people who are very active or very tall, for example. 1600 tends to be the lower end of a starting deficit. We might drop lower for all of you, everybody in this bracket, as we get into the diet. I'm talking about week 1, week 2 start points. 1600 tends to be the lower end of a start point if you're smaller and or you have more fat to lose and or you're more sedentary and less active. So for you, essentially, I would put you at the higher end because you fall into the very active bracket if you're doing the workouts, hitting the 10,000 steps and then going for an hour and a half runs on the weekends. I would just start you on the higher end. If you see that you don't start to lose, and this is what Emma and I keep saying, this is when it becomes personal to you. If you find that you don't start losing with all that activity and 1800 calories, then you're going to have to drop, okay? And that's how it works. So that is the advice that I would give to you. Start slightly higher, and then if it doesn't work after a couple of weeks, you have to drop. But no, we don't want you matching your activity like we do. We're doing that for you with the calories document and the advice we're giving you. Don't want you to play around with it thereafter. Emma, what do you think?
Yeah, it's going to come back to like monitoring and adapting, as like we always say. You could have slightly more that day instead of thinking, I'll bring all my calories up to 1800. You might say, okay, on the day that I do an hour and a half run, I have 1800 instead of 1600 calories. But again, it's just going to be testing it out and seeing how it goes. If you do feel like you need to fuel that workout or that run, then maybe you want to adapt that.
Okay, yeah. So really, it's your choice. Okay, Candice says, is there much difference to weighing yourself after a workout if you've done it fasted compared to weighing yourself when you first wake up? I know you advised that we do it when we first get up. I just wondered what factors might change after training. Lots of factors. You will probably be taking on water. You will probably be sweating. And really, we would much rather that you, inflammation could also increase. We would much rather that you weigh in when you wake up. Emma, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think in the morning probably not that much will change depending on, like Chloe's saying, your sweat rate to drinking fluid rate. So that just adds in another area that could be slightly off with the scales. So I would just stick to get up, weigh yourself. If you're going to work out in the morning, then do your workout. But yeah, not too much would change initially. It would just be a case of how much have you intaken and how much have you sweated.
I always, yeah, there are some past tenses that confuse me as well. Oh, Andy Duncan, this is an old client of mine. Hey, Andy, did really good when I was his coach. I'm sure he's going to smash this as well. What would you recommend to help with DOMS that won't make a big dent in my calorie allowance? So, Andy, we have definitely been through this before. As we said, we really want men hitting that 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. That will help. We really want you to stay hydrated. That will help. You guys know that I like to recommend 4 to 5 liters for men. Depending on your size, but work your way up to it. You don't have to jump into drinking that much water because that could be a little bit cumbersome. And magnesium will help, creatine will help, rest days will help, getting good sleep will help, hot baths, hot showers. Yes. Emma, anything else on DOMS that I'm missing?
I guess you could try, if you wanted, foam rolling after a workout, see if that eases it off a little bit. Dynamic stretching, even things like especially if you're doing the weighted workouts, like going for a bit of a walk afterwards just to loosen your muscles off, so you're not like, it's very easy when you're at home to go straight from doing a workout to sitting at your desk, and that could just like mean everything tightens up. So even if you can do a little walk or do a little bit of a cool down, and it doesn't have to be anything particularly exertive, just like getting your muscles moving a little bit and then sitting down. Hot baths are meant to help sometimes. I mean, the main thing that's going to help is keeping training, because the main thing that's going to cause you DOMS is like a new stimulus of exercise. So a lot of people might be feeling really sore this week, and that's probably because they're either new to exercise, haven't exercised for a while, or the exercises that they're doing are different. So it's quite a shock to the muscles, and that's why they're so sore. And this is a stage where a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do it, I can't be sore all the time. You will not be sore all the time. We promise you that that will not happen. Next week you'll be a little bit less sore, the week after you'll be even less sore. And that's also why we don't like you to think of DOMS or like how sore you are after a workout as a good marker of how good that workout's been, because it's actually more a marker of if there's been like eccentric loading, so loading on the muscle while it's lengthening, and B, if that exercise is new to you. And also C, and this is one we hope that doesn't happen, it can be a sign of under recovery. So you'll get quite bad DOMS if you're training too much, you're not recovering well enough, you're not sleeping, you're not eating right, like you're not getting enough protein. So those are sort of the things that cause DOMS. But in terms of getting rid of DOMS, like sometimes you just have to deal with it.
Yeah, I would say like for Emma and I now, it's probably really rare that we get them. And when we do, we're really happy, because it means, as she said, we've done something new, we've done something different, and that's only going to have a positive effect on either our performance or our physique. So we're really happy about it. But you will find the deeper and deeper you get into training, whether it's body strength resistance or weightlifting or whatever it is, the less and less and less sore you get. And actually, there will come a point in your training where you actually really covet that feeling and you're really excited about it because it means you did something new. And exactly like Emma said about keeping moving, you will find if you're dommy and you're like, I can't work out today because I'm too dommy. It might hurt at the beginning of the workout. Dommy.
I've never heard someone say dommy.
Dommy. You might find at the beginning of the workout that it's like absolutely horrific, and that might happen. I guarantee you, by the time you're halfway through, you literally won't even be aware of it. You really like getting that blood to the muscle, getting that circulation going is going to really ease them off. And Emma's right as well. I think actually the more experienced you are, it can be a sign of under recovery. I don't think anyone going straight into the plan at this stage is going to be under recovered 3 days in. Although I actually do know a lot of you are talking about that you struggle sometimes when you don't have a good night's sleep, in terms of A, getting the training done, and B, staying on your diet. This is really, 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 really normal. Please do try and get a good night's sleep. You will find the diet a lot easier to adhere to. You will find that your cravings are a lot more subdued, and obviously you'll have more energy for the workout. I know it's hard for those of you who are like full-time working mothers. I get it. I know, like, I feel you. But please do try and prioritize your sleep.
Yeah. I think getting into a routine as well. I know it seems strange for like a fully grown adult to set themselves a bedtime, but setting yourself a bedtime and a waking up time and getting into that routine. And we've spoken about this a bit before, but your circadian rhythm gets used to that, and it knows when you're sleeping, when you're meant to be awake, and you recover better, you sleep in a deeper sleep. So the routine is really important as well, even if you're like, oh, well, do you know what? I'll go to bed at 1 a.m., but I won't wake up until like later, like 9 a.m. instead of my normal 7 a.m. Okay, but now you're moving your sleep pattern and your body gets a bit confused by that. So trying to set a bedtime for yourself is a really good idea as well.
100%. Like sleep routine is really important. Okay. Any ideas for recipes or high protein snacks on the go that aren't shop bought protein bars? So high protein snacks on the go, other than protein bars, you could like meal prep yourself, like little chicken salads or tuna salads. I think people think salad, they think like lunch, but I actually have protein and veg snacks, meals, everything, and that will only be a couple hundred calories. It's a great snack. You can get like lunch meat from supermarkets, cooked chicken breasts, or even just like those like quite crappy like lunch meat. They are processed. They're not the best go-to when it comes to protein, but hey, it's better than nothing. Beef jerky, I personally love.
I once saw another personal trainer's meal plan for someone, and it was like the snack was just, which I just find what, but it was just like cooked meat. It was just ham, nothing else. Just like eat some ham.
Well, I think it depends on the person, because like me and my brother, since we were kids, and my dad, we get it from my dad, it's a learned behavior. We'll go into the fridge and we'll just take out a packet of ham, like roll up the ham into like a roll and just eat it. Now, obviously, Emma's like, ew, rank. Me and my brother still do it to this day. So for us, we're like, yeah, that works. But obviously, find what you like, what foods you like, what proteins you like, and then find a way to make it your snack.
A lot of people are saying beef jerky is good.
Yeah, I love beef jerky. It's chewy, it's salty, and it takes a minute to get through it, even that teeny tiny packet.
Yeah.
Be careful though.
Someone
if you go for
said
the
a boiled egg. See, I can get behind a boiled egg, but it's a bit like if you were just taking that out.
Pongy.
Yeah.
It's a bit pongy. Yeah.
It's a bit pongy. Do you know what I used to really like is those, I think you would like this. I bet you did a Lunchable but chewed up one of the things, spat it out. Have you ever had a Lunchable?
I didn't do it, but I would do it. I would do it. And after the mini cheddar comment, one of the girls said that she would do the same thing, and then she'd put another mini cheddar on top of it to make it like a sandwich, and I was like, I did that.
It's like a mini cheddar Oreo.
Yeah, spit Oreo.
Oh, yum. Also, I used to make these little pancake things out of, I think it was just like basically egg whites. I don't know if it was just when I was trying to get really lean. I think it might just have been egg whites and protein powder, like cooked. And then I would just have them like throughout the day. But it's like just basically pure protein. And I'm not going to say they tasted amazing, but they were okay. They didn't really resemble pancakes, but it was a high protein, easy snack, wasn't pongy.
Yeah, perfect. It is. A lot of bodybuilders do that, and they'll do I've heard this being slagged off before, being like, so a lot of Brazilian, so there's a lot of women in the physique industry who are Brazilian because they are just genetic freaks of nature and they just look ridiculous. They have like tiny waist, huge bum, great quads. It's just like, oh! Yeah. Anyway, but it's a thing in Brazil to do like sweet eggs. So they'll do like egg white omelets with cinnamon and like stevia, and they'll do like a sweet egg white omelet. And then I've seen people in the industry being like, I don't care who you are, don't pretend that tastes good. You're on a diet. Admit it, you're in hell. But they love it. And so two of my really good friends are both Brazilian. They're like, no, this is something we do. So you could try that out. Like, yeah, do like a little pancake out of it, put it in some Tupperware. The thing I find with Tupperware, which upsets me, is that sometimes it makes your food taste like Tupperware. Do you feel me?
I feel you. Yeah. It's not great. But then I feel bad because like one of my friends just was like, oh yeah, I just get like all of these disposable, when you get like a Subway salad, it's like in a little thing. She just gets them, but I'm like, that's such a waste. She's like, yeah, just throw it away after. But I'm like,
bad for the environment.
Yeah, we should probably think about the environment.
Do you have any questions your end, or shall I keep going through this one?
People saying they love a sweet omelette. Interesting. Someone said that they take magnesium tablets just before bed and it's helped their sleep. Have you found that?
Yes, it's like zinc will help your Yeah, ZMA will help your sleep. 5-HTP will help your sleep. Those are 2 supplements to take before bed that will really help you. And yeah, magnesium is such an important supplement to take if you train and you want to recover well and train well. There's a whole like biological like chain behind that, which I won't go into, but essentially get your magnesium in. And if you don't want to supplement it, go for leafy greens and almonds, I think are the 2 highest food sources in magnesium.
Okay, this one is not related to your plan, ladies, but what do you think of ketones you can drink?
Oh, I have such an opinion on this.
Yeah, me too, actually. This is a fiery question. So she says, what's your opinion? As an advanced medic, I really don't get how they can possibly throw your body into ketosis. Well, as an advanced medic, you are completely right.
You are completely right. If you take on ketones exogenously, so as a supplement, if you take them in on your body, yes, your body will use them for energy. That's great. But then that just defeats the entire point of going into ketosis anyway, which is where you switch your body's energy system to work on a different fuel than glucose and glycogen. And the whole point of switching it is, there's multiple reasons why someone might want to go into ketosis. But if you take on exogenous ketones, you're just taking on another energy source for your body to temporarily use as energy, and then you go back into your normal. It's just utterly, it's like a full circle of pointless. Emma.
Yeah, I agree, and it annoys me quite a lot. But mainly, I think my main gripe with this is because ketones drinks are actually really expensive, and when someone's like conned into buying them, that's a huge amount of money that they're putting into something that doesn't work. And I've looked really hard for this, and if anyone has any evidence, please send it my way. But I cannot find a paper that shows what would happen, like in terms of energy system usages, if you have carbohydrates and ketones at the same time. Because naturally in your body, you would never have carbohydrates and ketones, because ketones are only made, like to a large extent, to the extent that you would be in ketosis, when there is no carbohydrate available or when you're starving. So if you're neither of those, you've got loads of carbs.
Just logic and rationality, given that, carbohydrates are the body's preferred energy source and go-to, I would guess that if you took a ketone and carbohydrate supplement together, your body would use the carbohydrate and completely discard the ketones. And I think that would only switch potentially if you were in ketosis and your body was trained to using... I don't actually know about the latter. Ignore the latter, I don't know. But I do actually have some research to send you. It's amazing.
I can see the benefit, or the potential benefit, if you wanted to be in ketosis and you were taking ketones. I think there is evidence to show that could speed you up getting into that state, but I don't know why you would take it when you're not in ketosis. Anyway, not a benefit.
And maybe that middle ground, when your body hasn't quite made the switch yet, everyone calls it keto flu when you feel like hell. Yeah. When your body hasn't quite made the switch yet, maybe then a temporary window where ketone supplements might benefit you. But once you're in ketosis, again, by taking on exogenous ketones, you aren't getting the benefits of the actual biological ketosis. There's no point. As I said, it's like a full circle of pointless. Yeah. But maybe in that middle bracket, that's your market, ketone people. Yeah. That's your market, the keto flu people.
It's a very small window.
Small.
Yeah, it is interesting. I did actually do quite a lot of research into this just to make sure that, I was sure there wasn't potential benefits. And the only study so there's a big company called Prove It that sells these drinks. And the study that they keep referencing on their website, all it says is that if you take ketones, your blood level of ketones increases.
Of course.
That's their whole, I know, I'm like, no, no shit. But that's the outcome of this study.
But this is the thing, is that you could say, studies have shown this, your body will use these ketones for energy. Yes, that's true. But why, again, just to reiterate the same point I've made twice, why would you want to take on ketones for your body to use for energy when you're trying to put your body in its own state of ketosis? It doesn't make any logical sense.
Okay,
anyway.
This says, sorry, I think she's replied, thank you. I think they are selling them saying they suppress appetite, hence you lose weight well, but not healthy to teach people to dip their wee and eat keto. Increases a bad relationship with food, surely. I don't know. So I think the suppression of appetite comes from when you are on either a very low carbohydrate diet or you go into ketosis, so you're on a keto diet. Both of them tend to have quite low appetite levels, and that's why people who go low carb are like, I just eat whatever I want apart from carbs, and I'm never hungry. It's because actually it does seem to have an appetite suppressant effect, but probably only for how long you can restrict yourself from having no carbs.
Yeah.
So there may be sort of taking that and running with it, that people who are in ketosis. But if you think about the diet of being in ketosis, it's basically extremely high fat, quite a low amount of protein, and as little carbs as you possibly can have. Pretty gross diet, really, if you think about what they eat. You know, like I was saying about the ham, you would be good at ketosis.
No, God,
You
no, I
you
can't, because
love
I love protein. I couldn't do
Oh
it. Like
yeah, the
people
ham
don't
would be too much
understand.
protein.
Yeah, way too much protein. Like this, so people don't understand. Like I think a lot of people think a keto diet. We've talked about this before. Is little carbohydrates. No, it's not. It's extremely little protein, because protein can be converted to glucose, so and glycogen. So you don't. It's really very little protein. Absolutely no carbohydrates. Like maybe a very small amount of veg, like in one meal of the day, and all fat. It's incredibly hard to stick to. There are benefits of it for certain people who have certain issues with, disease or genetics, or I mean, it's a really specific bracket of people who have health issues that might benefit from keto. But for Joe Public, it is not. It's one of the hardest diets to do, and actually really not that beneficial at all. So yeah, I would say unless your doctor has said to you, look, there's some really interesting research on epilepsy and cancer and keto, fine, then look into it, absolutely. But if you're just a normal person, I would say stay well away from it, because you're going to find it impossible to pull off.
Yeah, there's no need. Sorry, I'm not being rude, but someone's asked about skinny jabs, which I think we should cover, because have you seen that Gemma Collins has been like, take the skinny jab? But I don't know
What the
what's
fuck is
in
the
them.
skinny jab? I don't even
Well,
know what
okay.
that is.
Oh God. Okay,
What is
well, I
it?
actually didn't know till this morning. Someone said that, so I'm on the website just trying to figure out what's actually in it, but I think you're meant to like inject yourself with something, but I don't know what the thing is.
Do you want to read up on that for 2 minutes? I'll
Yeah,
answer
you
a couple questions,
continue.
and then maybe. Okay, so Emma's going to try and educate herself on skinny jabs. We do try and know what we're talking about before we completely throw everybody under the bus, so I'll let her do that.
Yeah.
When you're done, holler and I will stop. At this early stage, I know that getting into the habit of doing the workouts is key, but if you're still in a lot of muscle pain, should you push through and do the next workout? We already touched on that. Yes. You're not going to risk injury if you're training with DOMs. If anything, you'll improve your DOMs. So I wouldn't worry about that. My question: although we can continue our usual method of exercising, like running, cycling, etc., on alternating days to your workouts, would we see more of a physique change from your workouts alone, purely for the fact that we'll be losing fat and working and gaining muscle from using different muscle groups than usual? Right, okay, so how it works is if you're a coach and you have a client who wants to do a marathon or a triathlon or compete in a swim race or whatever, we don't normally train small children, but you know what I mean. You basically say you put the goal first. So whatever the main goal is of the client, specific to the client, that's the main training they should focus on. And then any secondary goals, like, gaining muscle mass or like kind of accessory benefits to the main goal, like a marathon running, you basically then try and use like other time that you have to focus on that. So what I'm trying to say is prioritize the main goal. If you want to run a marathon and that's your thing, then yes, you need to be focusing on that. However, the workouts that we have set you, of course, they are cardio and resistance circuits right now in week 1, because as I said, we don't know what equipment you guys have yet. Week 2, we're going to try and cater to some more of the equipment that you have, if it's weighted or bands or whatever. We want to basically try and use your muscle so you can at the very least hang on to any muscle that you already have. If you're brand newbie to training, potentially grow some muscle mass, which is really the mecca, the goal that we want. And in a cardio fashion, so you're getting some really good bang for your buck. So we would much rather that you were doing our workouts. However, it's completely up to you. And lastly, you said losing fat, and we don't give you a workout that's going to push your body to lose fat. That all just comes from being in a calorie deficit, not taking on as many calories as your body needs to maintain its current state or gain. And then it will go to adipose tissue, which is your body fat, for fuel. So yes, the workouts help, of course, because they burn calories, but really that's just a calorie deficit. Emma, how are you getting on?
Hello, I'm back from someone's actually just written the drug just as I found it, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but it's Liraglutide. Anyway,
right.
it suppresses glucagon secretion and slows gastric emptying. I would have thought slowing gastric emptying might have been a bad thing. But anyway, apparently there is actually some research that it reduces your appetite. It's normally used in type 2 diabetes and potentially very severe cases of obesity. But what are the side effects?
So it reduces your appetite.
Yeah, appetite
and slows
decreased.
down. Why? Because it slows down
Gastric emptying, it says, but also inhibits glucagon secretion.
Do you need a few more minutes
Yeah, I'm a little deep in it, but basically it does. I mean, it is a legit drug for people who are suffering with type 2 diabetes, and when prescribed by a medical professional doctor, not some random person on the internet, I would just
Wait,
be
hang on, hold the phone. Gemma Collins isn't a doctor.
I know. But yeah, I think it's quite dangerous, all these things. In fact, this makes sense now because I saw someone post just before I came on here, like a GP. In fact, no, I think she's a heart surgeon. But she was like, "Oh my God, it's actually happened. Like influencers are now trying to prescribe like actual drugs online. It's awful, isn't it? Like you get to that stage.
So okay, I'm just gonna say one sentence that I want everybody to take forward with them for the rest of their lives, okay? If the person telling you how to diet or exercise is not qualified or does not have like a good base of experience behind them, do not take their advice, no matter how good they look or how good their before and after is. If they're not qualified and they have no experience, they don't usually know what they're talking about. Cool. Next thing, if the person trying to tell you to take a drug, right, a legitimate drug, is not a doctor, probably best not to listen to them. If Emma and I aren't telling you to take certain medicines because we're not doctors, I don't think you should be taking them from a TOWIE member. Just a thought.
Yeah. So it increases insulin and decreases excessive glucagon release. So it's funny because so many people are like scared of insulin because it's the fat storage hormone, but then they forget that it also has other effects, including reducing appetite, because basically when insulin is there, that's a sign to the body that there is usually food there, or there is usually glucose in your blood, which is a good thing in terms of turning off your appetite. So I guess that's one way it might be doing it. But the thing is, even if it does, and this goes for all like medical, like some people have said, oh, people just want a quick fix. I'm going to play like the other side of the card here. So some people are genetically predisposed to like having a higher appetite, which means that they're predisposed to putting on weight or finding dieting a lot harder. Now, if there is a drug that can help to some extent reduce their appetite, I think that's a good thing. It's not cheating because they still have to eat less and move more. Like, there is no way around that. Even when you get a gastric band put around your stomach and you've like shrunk your stomach, it is a way of forcing you to eat less and move more. It's not a way of cheating the system. Like, there is still no way that you can eat a hell of a lot of food and then not put on weight. It's not really a cheat. It's just helping them because they're struggling for other reasons. So I think that is an important point to make as well.
I love all of your important points. I've got a question here from a graduate that is great for you, Emma, not so great for me. With the supplements in the file that I'm taking, is there anything that I can add that might help with menopause? I don't know the answer to that.
It really depends on what like negative side effects you are getting. I would say, and this might sound like a cop out, but please go and speak to your doctor. I think a lot of people just accept some of the side effects of menopause and think, well, I'm going through the menopause, so I'm going to have all these like horrible side effects happen to me. That doesn't have to be the case, and there are a lot of things that people can do to help you now, or certain things you can take, or procedures you can do, especially things like talking about maybe your hormone replacement therapy, if that is appropriate to you. So go and see your GP. Don't just sit back and think that this is now inevitably like what's going to happen to me. But I can't like suggest any. I mean, I would be as bad as Gemma Collins.
Well, that's debatable, but
maybe
yeah, we aren't doctors. Maybe a little bit more aware. Apologies if I've asked previously for Thursday's workout what is meant. Okay, that's been answered below and answered accurately. So see the question. I just wanted to get to there's one. I did see a graduate question that I wanted to answer because I know we've got less graduates than newbies and I don't want them to drown in it. If you know what I'm saying. Let me just have a look. Oh, balls, I can't find it. Okay, well, I'll just keep scrolling down. Emma, do you have any questions your end?
Side effects are drizzling shits. Huh, lovely.
Drizzling?
Yeah.
That just made me think of that song in Bambi. That like, anyway. And then a poo. I just can't merge this. What? What have you read now?
I'm laughing at you. Oh, that just reminds me of that song.
It does. Little April showers. It's all about drizzle.
Oh God.
Okay, I've got one. Recognizing that the EC method advocates sticking to a calorie deficit with a protein target of 100 to 150 grams, this is a sciencey. I think James is going to bring me coffee. I just texted him. Oh, you were talking like, bring me a coffee. How advantageous is it to split up your macros depending on your body type, i.e. ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph? And would there be any difference if after 2 weeks there is no fat loss progress, staying on the same calories but changing the macro breakdowns while keeping protein high? I assume it's optimal rather than necessity. P.S. You ladies are the best science teachers. Emma is. Emma is like a legit scientist.
No. We are.
I just
we are the team. Well, that's all I do. Read it and then tell people about it.
So, yeah, well, yeah, that's the one benefit of social media. I'll say that. So, okay, ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph. So these are the three different body types. One is more predisposed to being bigger, having more body fat. That's an endomorph. Ectomorph is like long, lean, think model genetics, long, tall, skinny. Mesomorph, probably more like Emma and I, can gain muscle easily, but can also gain body fat easily. Kind of sit somewhere in the middle. So the main thing, as you note here, is protein. So obviously, if you're an ectomorph, you can probably eat more. Calories calories, you can probably eat more calories. If you're a mesomorph, you're probably going to be more in that middle ground. And if you're an endomorph, you might have to go into a bit more of a calorie deficit to shed that body fat, because as we've talked about before, body fat is stored calories, it's stored energy. You don't need as many calories, therefore you can drop them and hope that you can get the ball rolling a little bit faster. So calories are the main thing. Protein within those calories, for reasons that we've talked about ad nauseum, including in the last podcast and everyone preceding that. In terms of switching up, what I think you're saying is switching up your fats and carbs to match the body type. It's not the first thing we go to. The first thing we look at is calories. It's really much more when you've been with a client long term. And they start to really drop the body fat and get closer and closer to the shape that they really want, that you can maybe start to look at whether they respond better to fats and or carbs. Usually you will find with people with a higher muscle mass, they respond very well to carbs, which is why you can pull fats a bit. Usually for people just starting out, especially as we've again talked about with hormonal issues, we would begin by maybe pulling from carbs and increasing fats, and then potentially switch it up as they got closer and closer to the physique shape they want. That is my take on it, but it's certainly not something you need to concern yourself with in the beginning. It is quite far down the line. Emma, what is your take on it?
I don't like the body types. I don't think that they're as solid as what people think. You're obviously on a spectrum through all of them.
Yeah.
I've looked more like an ectomorph before. I've looked more like a heavier side of a mesomorph before. And you like a lot of it's more to do with your behaviors. So like if I started training for a marathon, I'm pretty sure someone would look at me and be like, ectomorph. Like that's your body type, is more towards an ectomorph. And if I'm training for like more strength-based stuff, I would look like a mesomorph. So the one thing I don't like about it is don't put yourself in a box of like, I am an endomorph, I'll always struggle to lose weight, I'll always look this way, that's just my genetics. That isn't like, there is some aspect of that, but that isn't the full case, and you can completely like you can change that just by like following the behaviors that we've told you to follow. I wouldn't overcomplicate it and start thinking, oh, I think I might be a mesomorph, I need to have more carbs than fats, I need to do this and this. Like, go with it, see how you feel. That on the hierarchy of needs, there's so many more important things than your carb to fat ratio. So don't overstress it, but yeah, I wouldn't think about it at the moment.
I totally agree that it's a big old spectrum, and Emma's right. You know, depending on what you do, you could probably look one end of the spectrum, look closer towards one end and closer towards the other. Okay. Can we? Like, where's my coffee? Can we please cover off weighing raw or cooked foods? As I've noticed, quite a few people are asking the question. Guys, I'm gonna say 3 words. Check the announcements. I just did it. Okay, fine. I'll just quickly reiterate it. Usually, all weight of food is cooked, apart from carbs, which tend to be raw because obviously they take on water. They really do significantly change measurements, and they're quite cumbersome. This is Dr. Mike who's got this word cumbersome into my brain, and I keep saying it. They can be quite cumbersome to divvy up after you've cooked them. Generally speaking, though, be specific when you search on MyFitnessPal, cooked weight, raw weight. And lastly, that also applies, by the way, to things like skinless, boneless chicken. If you put like a chicken breast with skin on it, it will be a lot higher in fat. So if you look at it and you're like, chicken's not as lean as I thought, that's why. So just be specific with your searches. Emma, your thoughts on weighing food?
I disagree with you. That's absolutely fine. I don't think there needs to be much more said. Just be consistent with it.
Yeah. Oh, he did it! He's got his top off. Say hi to all the females because he's half naked and.
I don't know if they're ready for the ring, are they? What's happening, ladies? All right. See you later.
Oh, he's very sexy, isn't he?
Wow, a topless man came in to give you coffee.
I know, nice. I'm living the dream. He's also like a petulant child, so, you know, there is a downside. Swag him.
What about if you make a stir fry, etc., so it's mixed in? I can't be asked to pick out and weigh it. What do you mean? So like if you get like a pack of stir fry veg, it'll probably say like X amount. And if you're talking about whatever you put in it, the pasta or the noodles, weigh it before you put it in, and then you'll be fine.
You just scan the packet of the stir fry veg and put in however much of that packet you've had. So if it's 300 grams and you have a third of it, it's put in a third of it, and then weigh everything else. Or if it's fresh veg, it's pretty simple. Like a handful of veg is usually about 100 grams. It's just 100 grams of a veg. And we've said you don't need to be pedantic about tracking your veg. You just need to be rough about it anyway. So, Emma, do you have any?
What, veg?
No. Any questions?
Oh, do I have any questions? Oh no, that was the question. That was it, really.
Okay.
Have we done all of the questions? No way.
No, we've got a few more on this post.
Okay, let's rattle through them.
Okay, fine, right. Right, we've already talked about why we don't want you tracking your activity calories. We've already look at the tempo. The people who are asking about the tempo, it's been answered accurately more than once, so just have a read of that. Again, with the DOMs, we've done that. If you strength train without cardio and you stay in a calorie deficit, will you still lose weight? Emma?
If you strength train, but you're in a calorie deficit, will you still lose weight?
Yes. Yeah, if you're not doing cardio, yes. The key is being in a calorie deficit.
It's quite individual how you choose to create that deficit. It could be from activity, it could be from reducing your food intake, it could be from a combination of both, which is sort of what we've tried to do for you. So you were increasing your activity target, your step count, and reducing your calories.
Exactly. It's completely up to you how you do it. You don't need to do everything. You can quite easily pick one thing, or you can pick a few things and go into your deficit. So whatever you want to do. Then she says, so adding in cardio is to increase the deficit and lose faster. It's mainly because Emma and I are kind of like big champions of both gaining muscle and getting fit at the same time, because they're both really important. She says, is it to increase cardiovascular fitness and health? Yes. Can we possibly leave out the cardio is what I'm getting at? Yes. If you are in a calorie deficit and you're happy with your training, you don't need to do cardio. I personally would say do, but you don't need to at all. It's totally up to you. Okay, so hi, I have a weekend of full social distancing events coming up, which will involve drinking, and this is where I go off track. I want to be able to enjoy these things without overthinking them too much. Is there celebrations that I have missed during lockdown? Totally feel you, Laura. However, I do not want to lose my progress. I'm only 1 week into round 2. She's a grad, obviously. I've started pulling back around 300 to 400 calories a day this week to allow for them this weekend. But I also want to avoid a binge restrict and guilt cycle that I know I've fallen into in the past. So if you are finding it easy, I mean, pulling 300 to 400 calories a day from a deficit that's already in place is quite a lot. If you're sticking to it, fine. I presume you're doing that with a lot of veg and protein. Fine. And then bank them at the weekend. That's fine. I would say give it a go. And if you pull it off, great. If you find that you struggle in the week or you blow it at the weekend, then lesson learned. And, for next time, maybe to restrict a little bit less and then to blow out a little bit less and just kind of pull it back a bit. Emma, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think that's quite a lot. I don't know exactly what your calories are, but if you're in a deficit already and then you're pulling back another 300, 400 calories, that's like 1,500 calories if you do that 5 days before the weekend. And that's when you can fall into this binge restrict cycle, because let's say your calories are 1,500, then you're adding on the 1,500, you've got 3,000 calories there. That's quite a lot of calories to eat in a day if you are a middle-sized female, which I imagine that you are. So you probably don't need to save that many calories, but if you're doing fine on that for now, let's just say that's okay. The other thing I would do is, instead of going into this, like, let's say it's a barbecue or something, totally blind, like, have a bit of a plan. Make that plan before, like, say, right, my cap is 4 drinks. I'm not having any more than that. Make that plan before and then stick to it. And you 100% stick to it. That way, when you're there, you're not like swayed by anything. You're just like, right, I know I'm having 4 drinks. That's it. The other thing I would say about like going out on the weekend, like if you've saved these calories up, you don't have to consume them all. Like, don't be like, oh, I need to have all this, or even like if you've had 2 drinks and you're like, I feel good and I think I'm done with drinking, like that's me done. Don't feel like you have to have 4 because you've said in your head you're going to have 4. I would set yourself a limit beforehand when you're in a good headspace and when you're not being like persuaded by other people. Just set yourself a limit. You also don't have to go into it being like, I'm on a diet, I'm only having this much, like, no one has to know that you're dieting. You just do it because that's what you've chosen to do at the time and enjoy it. And yeah, you'll be fine. But that, I think that is potentially quite a big deficit.
It is. I mean, I would guess that would mean you're having somewhere like definitely not over 1,200, I reckon. Okay, I think the main thing that Emma said that I'm like, abso-fucking-lutely, that's amazing advice. Put in on the weekend what you think you're going to have. So, 2 glasses of wine, 2 gin and tonics, a cheeseburger, whatever it is, right? And see how many more calories you need per day. So you can still plan for it, go over your calories, and then deduct from there. Because, yeah, Emma's right, you're banking a lot of calories. So I would just say, what's your normal breakfast? Then you go to the barbecue. How many drinks are you likely to have on the higher end of it? So you're leaving yourself some room. How many burgers and sausages are you going to have? You'll probably find that you might go over your calories a little. I doubt it's going to be that much. And then you just deduct from there. You might even find that just the Friday before is enough. And then the Monday after the Sunday is enough. So I would say plan even when you're in your deficit as well. Like planning is really good. A lot of people are learning this already, like 3 days in, which is fab. Plan out your day of food. So you in your MyFitnessPal, so you don't completely go off track, blow your numbers, and get really confused and frustrated. And then you might find that you have some room at the end of the day for some wine or some Halo Top or some whatever. I think it's a really good tip. And I also think we should stop there because we've been going an hour and we have a rule not to blow past an hour.
Right, okay, lovely. That was fun. Oh wait,
Fab.
Did we have anything we quickly wanted to say about, there was just 2 things I wanted to say about sort of like less so diet hacks, but starting your diet. So you're about like 2-3 days in now. It is normal to be a little bit hungry. That doesn't mean that you will always be hungry. That just means that you're getting used to this. And yeah, so I think, and also even just try and reframe how you think about hunger. Like if fat loss is your goal, being a little bit hungry is a good thing. It's almost like, okay, well, I've not eaten as much as I was eating. That means I'm probably in a deficit. That means I'm probably going to be losing fat. So try and reframe the way you're thinking about that and not see it as negative so much. Also, don't attribute everything to the fact that you're now on a diet. So you've been dieting 3 days. The reason that you're really tired probably isn't your diet. It's probably other things like lack of sleep. So focus on these other things in your life that you might be able to manipulate to make this whole process easier. But you would be tired with lack of sleep even if you were on 2,000 calories a day. That's not the problem there. It's the lack of sleep. And if you are losing fat and you have fat to lose, remember that that is an energy source. You're not going to starve after 3 days. And this just takes a little bit of getting used to. So in some ways, the first week is one of the hardest weeks where you're just adapting to this. You're trying to start creating habits and ways of eating that you know are going to help you hit your goals by the end of the week. So it's just feeling your way through it. Don't be put off if you are a little bit hungry. That is normal.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a good, if I'm honest, like this gets a lot of flack, but it's just facts that if you're on a fat loss diet, if you're in a calorie deficit and your body does actually have to turn to adipose tissue for energy, which is what we want, that's fat loss. Of course you're going to feel hungry. It's part of it. We can curb it, definitely. We talk about this all the time. High protein diet will do it. A high fiber diet, which is loads and loads of veg, will do it. Also, the latter will give you big voluminous meals, which mentally is really helpful, which will not only make you feel satiated physically, but will make you feel satiated mentally. If you do like a big old bowl of broccoli mash, that is going to take you a minute to get through. It's going to be very, very filling, and it's going to feel like you're not having like a teeny tiny piece of chicken and a spear of broccoli. Like you don't need to do that. So yeah, the diet hacks that I quickly ran through were things like broccoli, cauliflower for mash and rice replacements, just lower calorie, higher fiber, great volume. Things like Lodo is a pizza base. It's like, I think one of them is under 40 calories, which is, I mean, at least 100 calories less than a normal pizza base or even a wrap. So that you're just saving some calories there. Use that. I wouldn't really use it for wraps, but I do like it as like a base. So that's one. Halo Top ice cream, anything under the 400 calorie mark for a tub, have half a tub. Great. That will really help your sweet tooth. Protein bars will really help your sweet tooth. Sweet Freedom, Choc Shot. Put it on your protein cakes, your protein pancakes, whatever, to just give things a little bit of like a chocolatey push, and that will really help. And courgette instead of spaghetti, great one. And also bare naked noodles, something I talked about, or any really cognac noodle. They smell when you take them out of the packet because they have to sit in like distilled water so that they don't lose all the moisture. But you just rinse them off and they do taste like normal noodles. They don't really taste like pasta, so be aware of that. They're more a noodle thing. And I think those were all my diet hacks.
One more, just because someone said it, stir fry. Like, even when you get those big, like, family-sized stir fry packs, even if you ate all of that, which is a hell of a lot, maybe you would have a little bit of indigestion as well, so maybe not that much, but it's so low in calories. Like, if you're looking for volume, amazing. And sometimes with the stir fry, like, I don't even miss the noodles. Like, if I just had a stir fry that was just stir fry and meat, like, yeah, I could do that. It's fine. So
no, and also Emma's dinner last night. Go on the Facebook page and find it. Amazing diet hack. Just that she's got so much veg volume in there. Look how big that plate of food is. Like a really small, probably handful of pasta, but it basically gives the illusion, both visually and in terms of like taste and everything, that you're having like a mega pasta salad. But it's like she's probably reduced the calories by like, I would say like what? At least 300, maybe 400, just by swapping out some of the pasta with veg.
For more veg,
it's such a good
way to diet. It's like the opposite of what they do in the Tesco pasta pots. Have you ever had one? It's like chicken pasta, and you're like, where's the chicken? Like, there is no chicken, it's just pasta. But I've just gone for the opposite version. Okay, brilliant.
Honestly, that's what they all do.
I know. Oh. Right, we will finish there. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, guys.
And we will be back Friday.